Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Andy H. Wynn, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation today will be delivered by Pastor Dave Young from the Crown of Life Lutheran Church, Colleyville, Texas. Thank you for coming out today. After the prayer, please remain standing for our pledges.
We pray. Almighty God and Father, we recognize you as the supreme authority, and you are the one that established government for the good of all people. We thank you, Lord, for the privilege of living in this great state and in Tarrant County. We recognize that by the sheer number of people that move here every day, the prosperity that we enjoy. But in the midst of our prosperity, we also recognize there are those that are struggling. And that's why it's so important for us to lift up to you those that are in positions of leadership in government. And we ask today, Lord, that you would give them wisdom and discernment in all of their decisions. We pray that they would lead diligently and courageously. And today, Lord, we also pray on behalf of all those that serve in the military and our first responders, for they serve to provide safety for all of us. And we pray this all as we ask it in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Pastor, for being out today. Mr. Manius, agenda announcements.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we have several announcements. One that deals with today's agenda is under Public Health. It'll be item 8E5. This is a consent item. We have submitted a new, or actually a revised, court communication to you. There was just a correction on the account number. We're going to ask that you approve that, though, as you approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that are going to happen next week. First of all, as it relates to court activity, we're going to be setting the outside tax rates for the hospital district, the county, and the emergency services district. So you'll see that on your agenda. Also, next Tuesday is going to be the ribbon cutting for the Vandergrift Civil Courts building. That starts at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And it'll be inside, obviously inside the new Civil Courts building. And then finally, as you know, we've now concluded our JPS town hall meetings, and I've been working with Mr. Early on the proposed bond package. Since the board originally recommended to the court that we consider a November 2015 election, several new developments have occurred. First, as you know, JPS is one of the largest teaching hospitals in both the state of Texas and the United States. The announcement of a new medical school through the collaboration between TCU and the UNT Health Science Center, it will have an impact on the overall JPS facility plans. Additionally, as we went through the town hall meetings, we heard comments from the public, and there was a desire that additional consideration be given to improvements on the JPS clinic system. And with that in mind, Mr. Early and I will probably be recommending next week that the bond package election be scheduled at a time when these issues and other issues have been properly vetted. We're currently looking at probably a November 16th recommendation. However, that will eventually be a decision of the Commissioner's Court. And we will have that on the agenda for next week, and Mr. Early will be here to have discussions with the court concerning those issues. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Court members, you have before you the minutes of our July the 28th meeting.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We have a couple of proclamations. We have our some resolutions. Commissioner Brooks, I believe you have the first proclamation.
Yes, Your Honor. It is in honor of World Breastfeeding Week, and I would ask that you read it into the record.
Whereas a mother's milk is one of the most easily utilized and cost-effective prevention strategies available for many diseases, including various infections, sudden infant death syndrome, diabetes, obesity, and cancer, among others, and whereas 75% of women in Texas initiate breastfeeding, but only 11% are exclusively breastfeeding at 6 months, and whereas a cost analysis concludes that if 90% of U.S. families would breastfeed exclusively for 6 months, the U.S. would save a minimum of $13 billion in health care costs and prevent over 911 deaths annually. And whereas to mark the 2015 World Breastfeeding Week theme, Breastfeeding at Work, Let's Make It Work, the Tarrant County Breastfeeding Coalition will host the 4th Annual Family Expo and Big Latch On, a national synchronized event in support of moms and breastfed babies in multiple locations, including Tarrant County on August the 1st. And whereas Tarrant County and the state of Texas are committed to increase public support and acceptance of breastfeeding as the infant's feeding norm, remove barriers such as work outside the home, and encourage all citizens to support our breastfeeding moms, now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby proclaim August 1st through 7th, 2015, to be World Breastfeeding Week across Tarrant County. In witness whereof, we have herein to set our hands and cause the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 4th day of August, 2015.
I move approval.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Here to receive this proclamation this morning are Shannon Wingo, Tarrant County Breastfeeding Coordinator and past chair of the Tarrant County Breastfeeding Coalition, Lane Walker, Assistant Breastfeeding Coordinator and Secretary of the Coalition, and Jackie McCullum, Event Coordinator. Would y'all please join me at the podium?
Thank you all for coming out this morning.
Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners. I don't have the other two ladies mentioned with me, but I do have Officer Stillwell here today, and she has her new baby, Isabella, who is 8 weeks old. And Officer Stillwell just came back to work 2 weeks ago, and this is her first baby. And so we want to recognize her, and she is a little breastfed baby. And so she's learning the ins and outs of working and breastfeeding. I want to thank the court for signing a resolution for Tarrant County on June the 2nd to be a mother-friendly work site. We are working with the state on that arena. At our event on Saturday, we had 277 moms and babies latched on the breast at the same time. There were 58 sites in Texas that did the Big Latch On event, and I'm pretty confident we had the largest event in the state for 2 years in a row. So I want to thank you all for honoring this, and thank you for bringing the little one up here. It's wonderful. So thank
Now, if
you
y'all
so
turn
much.
around and get a picture with Commissioner Brooks there.
I'd like to present this to you.
I'll tell you what, a baby will do that with you every time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all very much for being here today. Commissioner Brooks, I believe you have some certificates of congratulations.
I do. Every year, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP, holds the ACT-SO competition. ACT-SO is an acronym for Academic, Cultural, Technical, and Scientific Olympics. It is a competition for kids across America, and they come and bring their talents and their scientific research and projects and compete against one another nationally. From Tarrant County this year, we had 4 participants in that competition, and 2 of those participants won silver medals. So we would like to recognize those young people this morning. And as I call your name, if you would meet me at the podium, I've got a little something for you. Winning the silver medal in oratory and the bronze medal in poetry performance, Mr. Dermerick Ross. Winning the silver medal in medicine and health, Ms. Alicia Smith. Also participating were Addison Jordan, who I don't believe is here this morning, and Charnice Kofer, who I also don't believe is here this morning. So I will present these 2. Come on up. To the AXO coordinator. If she looks familiar to you, she used to work for the city of Fort Worth. In charge of the MWBE program. So if you would transmit those and come, let us have a picture, young people. Okay, thank you, Ms. Song. Now, if either of you would like to have a word with the court, especially our orator, we would be pleased to receive you at this time.
So yes, Judge and Commissioners, thank you for this recognizing us. And I guess I'll tell you a little bit about what my project was about. It was in the category of medicine and health, and it was about stress in Black women with ovarian cancer and how that can affect chemotherapy, receiving chemotherapy.
And how old are you? What school do you attend?
I am an 18-year-old graduate from Smith Academy Homeschool, and I will be attending Texas Wesleyan University in the fall. Yes. So go Rams.
Go Rams.
Good morning. My name is Demerick Ross. I am a 17-year-old rising senior at Arlington Heights High School here in Fort Worth, Texas. This is my third year competing in the National NAACP AXO competition. I have won 2 gold medals in the past in oratory, so I'm pleased to add a bronze and a silver medal to that collection and hope to go forth and win gold the next year in my final year of competition. I did a original oration all 3 years. This year's oration was entitled Satisfaction Not Guaranteed. So I do thank you guys for this award.
Congratulations.
There has been a lot of worry and gnashing of teeth about the next generation of young people coming up in this country. I submit to you our future.
Commissioner Brooks, would you please move that we receive and file?
I move to receive and file the certificates of recognition.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Yes, I have a congratulatory resolution, but I visited with Robert Gallagher last evening and told him that if I presented it to him here in court today, that I'm going to have it back because I'm going to present it to him again Sunday afternoon at a program down on our side. So he elected to not put his family through the misery of bringing them down here and finding a place to park. He's going to meet me at Billy Bob's Sunday. But I would move for ratification of congratulatory resolution for Robert Gallagher, who spent many, many years down at Billy Bob's as their entertainment director.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. A couple of things before we get into the employee recognition. One, both of the commissioners who are bookends to the court here, I think one's about to be about to recognize another birthday. I'm not going to get into how many you've recognized in the past.
A couple more than you.
A couple more than me. And I believe that Commissioner Brooks has already celebrated a birthday. So again, congratulations to both of y'all. They go by very quickly.
Yes, they do.
You know, it used to be we'd never go by, and now they go by very rapidly. So we just wished we could slow them down at some point in time.
39 of them this year.
Is that how long you've been on the court?
Almost.
Again, thank you all very much. And Commissioner Brooks, before we go through all the employee recognitions and that group departs, would you like to take a moment?
I would. This past February, my office started a new initiative called Healthy Lives Matter. The first event under that initiative was a prostate cancer education and screening event that was put on by my office in collaboration with the Tarrant County Public Health Department, the John Peter Smith Health Network, and the Moncrief Cancer Care Center. The purpose of that event was to encourage men to know their prostate status. And to, once they figure out where they stand in terms of prostate cancer, to do something about it in the event that their tests were positive. Well, now it's my turn to put my money where my mouth is. My prostate cancer has reached the point where it is no longer appropriate to just have a PSA quarterly and to track the results. We've reached the point where it is time to do something about it. So on this Thursday morning at 7 a.m., I will have my cancerous prostate removed. Thursday evening, I expect to be cancer-free. In choosing to have this surgery, I choose life. And I urge men everywhere to choose life, not only for yourselves, but for your families and for your community. So, if y'all find yourselves up and about, Thursday morning at 7 o'clock and you feel like talking to the boss upstairs, put in a good word for me. I thank you for your prayers. I expect to be out 10 days or so. And I will return to this court strong, even more committed to deal with prostate cancer among the men of this community. And most importantly, I'll be cancer-free. Thank you for your time.
Commissioner, you certainly will stay in our prayers, and we appreciate, I know you have been an advocate for testing and for staying on top of this for a number of years. We will certainly keep you in our prayers and look forward to you being back with us. So,
thank you, Judge.
With that, we are going to move into our employee recognition as we do the first Tuesday of every month for the 5-year rookies. I will tell you that the routine here is that I call your name, or what may sound like your name, or what may be in the alphabetical order where your name should be. And if any one of those three exist, please stand up and prevent me from further embarrassment at my lack of ability. My court members will give me enough hard times about the way I pronounce some of your names. Please remain standing until after we've completed that particular group, and then we'll recognize you, and then we'll move to the next group, and you can take your seats again. We're going to start off with the 5-year employees. The first one is Eric Black from the Sheriff's Office.
Well done, Judge.
I got that one. One. Ramon Campos, 5-year. We probably didn't do quite so good on that one. Michael Diggs, the Sheriff's Office. Eleanor Gabrielle, Court of Appeals. Sandra Gonzalez, Domestic Relations. Belinda Hampton, Public Health. Gabriella Lepe Williams, Criminal District Attorney's Office. Johnny Thacker, Sheriff's Office. And Sherry White, Juvenile Services. These are our 5-year employees. Let's give them a hand. Y'all can be seated. Now for our 10-year employees, Michelle Cummings, Public Health. Graylin Curry Robertson, Precinct 1 Operations. Sharon Ferris, Sheriff's Office, or Shalon. It's probably not right either, but Sheila Harvey, Tax Office. Rhonda Kennedy, Justice of the Peace, Precinct 8. Leah Lewis, Tax Office. Ronnie Moore, Precinct 2 Operations. Roxanne Pearson, Sheriff's Office. Francis Richards, Justice of the Peace, Precinct 7. Karina Rodriguez, Juvenile Services. Sylvia Ruiz, Public Health. Jessica Shallock, Criminal District Attorney's Office.
Is there a Jessica here?
Lynette Stillwell, Sheriff's Office. Angel Williams, Juvenile Services. And Robert Williams, the Sheriff's Office. Thank you all for your service. Now for our 15-year employees, Shirley Franklin, Housing. Jason Hewitt, Facilities Management. Sean Sears, Information Technology. Michael Spence, Juvenile Services, and Anna Valencia, Public Health. Let's give these 15 minutes. Now for our 20-year employees, Mary Butler, Criminal District Attorney's Office, Stan Geisler, Public Health, Alvin Pope, Sheriff's Office, and Robert Powell, Information Technology. Let's give these folks a hand. Now for our 25-year employees, we're going to start off with Steve Conder from the District Attorney's Office. There's Steve. Started in the DA's office, actually started out doing appellate briefs, spent quite a bit of time responding to requests for the DNA, and now is back in the appellate briefs area. When I asked him what he liked most about working for the county, it was the fact that it was challenging and interesting, that he had an opportunity to deal with different judges around the county, researching and charting new ground. He said the county is really a great place to work. It provides a positive work environment, and his work was appreciated. He said, you know, I was made to feel like what I was doing was important and it counted. He has a 7th grader. You know, he came here. He commented on the fact that he was from a military family and traveled around a lot, and that he came here after law school. And I will tell you, Steve, we're glad you came here, and we're glad that you spent 25 years with Tarrant County. Thank you. Next is Richard Johns with CSCD, 25 years. There's Richard back there. The Air Force brought him here, and after he retired, he came to the county. He started work in the Miller Street office with CSCD. He's a field officer, and yesterday, I guess you moved downtown. So he's now in the downtown office. When I asked him what he liked most about working for the county, it was the opportunity to help a lot of people in the way Tarrant County takes care of its folks. Richard, we appreciate very much the 25 years of service you've given to Tarrant County. Thank you. Next is Jana Reed, Sheriff Confinement. There's Jana. Started out in the Belknap unit, then spent some time at Cold Springs in the Resource Connection, and then is now on the supply side. She said, I have a lot of good memories over the years. She's another one of those that commented on, when I asked her the memorable moment, it was that first night when I went into the jail and I walked in and I heard that door close behind me. She said, I knew where I was at that point in time. When I asked her what she liked most, again, she said it was the closeness of the department, the fact that she just, loves the job that she's had an opportunity to work for, and the people she's had a chance to work with. Many of the folks, just as we were talking earlier, it's amazing how fast 25 years passes by. She really enjoys working for the county. She said, when I talked with her, I guess Sunday, she said she loves her job, but she's beginning to think about retiring, planning on retiring in September. And, we were talking about what had happened over the last 4 years. She said, my husband and I had always planned on retiring when I hit the 25-year mark. Well, she lost her husband 4 years ago. And she said the county was there and was part of that. But she says, I'm going to see that. I'm going to stick to the plan. And she's been doing a lot. She said, I look forward. I have 2 grandkids, one 6 and one 3, that live in Stephenville. And she says, I've absolutely loved the time that I've had with the county. And she said, it's definitely been another family to me. We appreciate very much the 25 years you've given Jana. Thank you very much. Next is Kathleen Wood with Juvenile Services, 25 years. Kathleen. Started out at the Kimbo facility part-time and actually did some internship from college, was hired full-time and has never left. She is an intake officer at the detention center. when I asked her about a memorable moment, she said, has learned an awful lot from the kids and that they have an awful lot to offer and to give. She said, I can't tell you how much I enjoy working with the kids. She was a military wife for years. She went back to school, got her degree, became involved in law enforcement. She had always wanted to work with juveniles since the time that she had spent in Germany while her husband was in the military. She has a master's degree in counseling. When we talked, she said she too is beginning to think about retirement. She's actually started working with antiques and resale. She said, you know, it was kind of like I was buying all this stuff and I needed some place to put it. And I would, you know, as opposed to going out and renting one of these storage units, she said, I just was driving one day and saw this old church and I went in and talked with them and they said, well, yeah, we'll sell it, so make us an offer. And so she bought that. And she said, I store my stuff in it, and every once in a while I'll have a sale to try to get rid of it so I can bring new stuff into it. The one thing I could tell from the conversation with her, both this time as well as 5 years ago, is what a passion she has for the kids that she has an opportunity to come in contact with. And that just comes out in the conversations, in both the conversations we've had. And I think that's representative of many of the folks in our county and the people that they serve. Kathleen, thank you very much for your 25 years of service. We appreciate it. Next is Ann Wright with the District Attorney's Office, 25 years. Started out in private practice, heard great things about the DA's office, and came to work for us. Always been in prosecuting civil forfeitures. What she likes is when she's able to grab those assets, she feels like the good guys have won. And I could just tell, you know, she goes after that stuff, and she really, takes pride in what she does there. When I asked her what she liked most, it was the dignity of the office and how serious everyone takes their job and how professionally they do it. She said, I just love the job. She said, taking things away from criminals and what that does to their status is something that she just, it's something that she takes pleasure in. When I asked her about the last 5 years, she says, I love our new DA. And she said, I really love working for the county. And thank you very much for the 25 years of service you've given. We talk often in here at these first Tuesdays where we have an opportunity to thank all of you for what you do for our citizens. We talk about the way you interact with the folks that are in front of you. I know several of the folks that are in front of y'all is in the jail. You still show them respect because you know they're just at a bad place in their lives at this point in time, most of them. Right before we came in here, someone relayed to me a story of a gentleman who was coming into the office downstairs, was on oxygen and really seemed to be having a hard time breathing. And so I think they took him into the tax office, set him down. People from the tax office took his information, went, took care of all of his business for him, brought him back. The security guard downstairs helped him back out to his car and sent him on his way. Now, none of that had to happen. But the folks we have working here for the county don't just do their job and don't just stay focused on what that job is and not look beyond. You do so many things, from back to school to food bank to United Way, but you never forget about the people who you're serving, who come in front of you every day, day in and day out. This is what Tarrant County is about. And this is why I'm so proud to have an opportunity, and we're all so proud to have an opportunity to represent you and the citizens of Tarrant County. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all the service that you give. There are refreshments back in 504C. And again, we wish we could do more, but we really want to tell you how much we appreciate your job. Thank you all very much. Ms. Glenn? Oh, wait a minute, we've got the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Morning.
Good morning.
Thought I was in trouble there for a minute. So the first item, we're asking the court to receive and file the personnel agenda.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file the personnel agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our second item, we're asking the court to approve a waiver of terminal benefits for the magistrate court. Gene Grant is going to retire at the end of September with 400 vacation hours. If the court approves this waiver, the cost of the waiver to the general fund, we're estimating to be approximately $32,000.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Mr. Beecham.
Good morning.
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 We have 5 items for your consideration this morning. Our first item is a bid award recommendation for RFP 2015-119. It's an RFP for the offender defendant paid breath alcohol testing services for CSCD. We're recommending selection of our primary vendor is Smart Start Incorporated and our secondary vendor, Recovery Healthcare Corporation, per the terms of the contract.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We do, but I think that, Mr. Grimes, I don't believe you really, did you want to speak at this time?
No, I just came to hear if there was protest.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 2 is also a bid award recommendation for bid 2015-152. This is our annual contract for preventive maintenance and repair of air compressors. Recommendation will be toward the MS Air on a per unit price basis.
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our number 3 item, again, is a bid award recommendation for bid 2015-153. It's our annual contract for welding equipment, supplies, and industrial medical gases. Recommendation will be toward to the primary and secondary vendors as shown in your court communique on a per unit price basis.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 4, again, is a bid award recommendation for bid 2015-167. Submitted for the purchase of generator spare parts. Recommendation will be to award on a per unit price basis to the vendor shown in your court communique.
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our last item is an item in regards to bid 2013-127. This is an annual contract for security guard services. We are recommending cancellation of the award to Security Guard Services, which was the previous primary vendor, and awarding the last 3 months to Blue Shield. Excuse me. Let me start. I'm sorry. We're recommending cancellation of bid 2013-127 to the previous primary vendor, Blue Shield, and award to the alternate vendor, Vets Securing America.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Mr. Riley.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It is requested that the Commissioners Court approve the time frame of 2 years for BH Ashford Park LP's letter of credit to be used in lieu of the construction bond for the Ashford Park 3 subdivision in Precinct 1. This similar letter of credit was used in the previous phase, and after its approval, it only took them 6 months to complete the subdivision, so well within the 2-year time frame that we're asking this time.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any appointments?
I got one. Oh. Okay. To the, you'll see one here for Josh Richards, and this is the Emergency Service District. And there's a vacancy on that board, and I've met with Mr. Richards, very interested in serving in this position. Randy Renoir brought him over, and we visited, so I would like to appoint him.
Second.
Second.
That's to the Emergency Services?
District.
Yeah. Okay. We have a motion, a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
I move to appoint Mr. Warren B. Norrid onto the Board of Managers at JPS in place of Mr. Steve McCollum, who has recently resigned from the board.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Are there any other appointments? Court members, you have before you the claims, including the addendum.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the claims, including the addendum. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items, Mr. Manius?
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have one item for you this morning. This concerns a briefing on the LIRAP program and local initiative projects. Mr. Brown from the Council of Governments is here to address the court at this time.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Judge, Commissioners, for having us out. We appreciate this opportunity to give you an update on the what you do know is the Low Income Repair Replacement Assistance Program, or LIRAP. It's kind of popularly known or marketed as the Air Check Texas Drive a Clean Machine program. And we'll also just mention the local initiative projects as well. So real briefly, I'll just get into why are we here for these programs. And essentially, it's connected to the fact that these programs are centered around air quality and our issues in our region of the state. We've got in our North Texas area 9 counties that are a non-attainment area for the ozone pollutant. And just real quickly, as you recall, that the aspect is that the ozone pollutant is a harmful pollutant that the Environmental Protection Agency sets standards to, and that is to ensure and for set for protection of human health issues. And so this, what we've got showing here, the 8-hour ozone standard historical trends, is just showing that through the progress over the years, as certain standards have been set. Now, currently, our standard that we're, that is the standard is the 75 parts per billion there in the center of the graph. And that was a 2008 revised standard, really came into, designated by EPA in 2012. And as you can see, over time, we're making progress, but we continue to, do the programs that are going to help our air quality. And again, another focus for these types of programs is the fact that in our region, almost 50% of the emissions contributor are from the cars and trucks on the road. And their release of their emissions, there are pollutants that contribute to the formation of the ozone pollutant. And another aspect to consider is the fact that these types of programs and what we've got highlighted here, vehicle repair replacement programs, emissions enforcement programs, those are, kind of committed in the state implementation plan through the weight of evidence aspect. And that brings us here, what these programs are really doing is tackling the air quality and also being, a solution for our region. Now, real quickly, just some major milestones for the Air Check Texas Drive a Clean Machine program. It was created in 2001 through the Texas legislature, and through the years, it's been modified, expanded back in 2007 and 2011. The funding was reduced substantially. So in the past 4 years, we've been operating at a, staff-wise, operationally at a reduced level. But the good news is that this past legislative session, the state legislature did restore program funding nearly to what was being collected. So that means that those funds, essentially what have been collected in the region, in the counties, will be coming back to the region. So that's good news for at least the fact that the funding is restored, and essentially we'll be expanding operations so that we can, really get this program out to more folks and really help more in the community. Now, real briefly, the program, it's an application-based program. Again, the Council of Governments is the regional administrator on behalf of the county, and it's targeting the folks that may have a vehicle that has failed the state emissions inspection, or if it's 10 years old and older. There are some options to help incentivize and provide assistance to get those vehicle repairs. Then it's going to have a passing inspection, and it's back on the road compliant with the state's inspection. It's funded by a $6 inspection fee that's collected basically when a vehicle does the emissions test. $6 of that emissions fee goes towards this AirCheck Texas program. And what the individual receives, if they're approved, is they'll receive a voucher, either up to $600 for repairs, or it could be, if they're wanting to go through the replacement program, up to $3,500 towards a newer vehicle. And essentially that older vehicle is retired, removed, it's crushed, and so it's no longer on the road, and a newer vehicle is in its place, which is a much cleaner engine, lending towards the emissions benefit. And so with the move to get the funding restored back to our region, then we would be operating the repair assistance and the replacement assistance on a year-round basis. In the past several years, we've been operating the replacement part just on short durations, only while funding was available. And then once it was pretty much used up, then we had to kind of shut that part down. So this really allows us to open up operationally full year for the public. And this is just real quickly, just some of the statistics, the activity we've seen and this is just in our region over, the North Central Texas region. And so we've retired over 30,000 vehicles. We've repaired over 31,000 vehicles. And we feel that, as the funding is restored, and we actually have an opportunity to most likely retire and replace up to 5,000 or 6,000 vehicles, as opposed to the past several years. We've only maybe really been doing about 500. So it's going to be a really good substantial increase. And we also have participating auto dealers and repair facilities. And those are encompassed in all the 9 counties that participate in the program. And real quickly, for the local initiative projects, the funding, the use of those funds, is, especially for Tarrant County, it's been greatly utilized for the Emissions Enforcement Task Force. And that task force has done a lot of great work on tackling issues like where are the inspection stations that may be doing improper or fraudulent activities related to vehicle inspections. And really the county has some great leaders for that, in Chief John Ray and Commander Monty Gage. They're kind of the leads here for your county as far as those operations. And so they've really been active and continue to now probably see some opportunity to increase their emissions enforcement activities. And let me show you here what we've got highlighted is just for Tarrant County, what we're looking from the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. They are the ones that distribute the funds to the counties. And so we're looking at about 6.3 for the LIRAP or AirCheck Texas program, and a little over 700,000 for the LIP, which would help support some of those LIP projects, the Emissions Enforcement Task Force. So that gives you an idea of kind of what we're seeing from collectively what's coming in to our region. over 21 million and over 2 million for the local initiative projects. And just wanted to let you know that what our schedule of operations, as we're, again, as the regional administrator, what we're looking at is we're wanting to get out and let all the participating counties know what's going on as far as the funding. We're looking at increasing staff at our office that will be helping to address those applications that come in, process them, and our staff that also work with the dealerships and auto repair facilities to once those vouchers start coming in. So we're really anticipating an uptick in the public participation. So we're kind of gearing up for that right now, and we're also bringing in the dealers to get them signed up. So we'll have our participating dealerships through workshops we're holding this month, and we're hopeful that as soon as we can in September that we can be operationally ready and open up the program to the public. So that's we just wanted to make you aware and appreciate the time. Any questions?
Any questions?
What is the income qualification?
Yes, there is an income qualification, and it does get adjusted every year. It's the way it's set. It's at 300% of the federal poverty level. So there's, for a family of four at this point, what it's based on is we're looking at their adjusted gross income, and so a family of four, that could be the two adults in the household and a couple of children. That's what we would be looking at, and that family could be, I want to say, 65, somewhere between 70,000 adjusted gross income for their annual household. So it does really provide assistance for what we really say, even up to the kind of the mid-income families, so low to mid-income families. So.
And these funds are appropriated by the legislature and distributed through local counties. Is that correct?
Right. What happens is it goes through the state legislature's budget process, and the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality is the state administrator, so they're part of that. Their agency is part of that, and entire budget setting process.
But it's not actually appropriated from general revenue, isn't it? Collection of a fee.
It is. Yes, correct. So it comes from dedicated account, a clean air account. Correct. And so what happened back in 2011 is they just didn't appropriate, through
they held
the
on
budget.
to money.
Yes, correct. And so now we're looking at, they've now opened up the funding from the dedicated accounts, and we're now going to be really nearly getting back what's collected annually. We're getting back to our region.
Because what had happened in the past is that we were having to pay it. It was being collected and sent to Austin, but then Austin wasn't distributing the money.
Correct.
And so this way, if we're going to have to pay it, then it needs to be used.
Sure.
Let me ask a question. I know that we've gone this year to, we no longer have the little inspection sticker. What impact, if any, has that had on our ability to enforce and catch the fraudulent or the counterfeit stickers and things like that?
Right. Oh, yes, definitely. We have had some conversations with some of the area task force, and certainly we're kind of in this transition period, how they're going to be handling that. But there are still the aspects of the investigations can still be very relevant, because the fact that you may have eliminated, let's say, like you said, the windshield sticker. So you no longer will have that inspection windshield sticker. And so that may have been physically something that they could identify. But there's still this aspect of verifying, does the vehicle have a proper inspection? And still investigating those inspection stations, because they could be doing things that are, not,
These folks
not
are the brightest
in the
bulbs in the
intent.
group.
Right.
They basically will take and hook it up to one automobile, and the machine reads the vehicle ID number as you hook it up. So when you have the same automobile VIN number that shows up 10 times, you got an indication there may be a problem with that
Right,
particular
yes,
dealer.
yes. So there's still certainly the aspect of targeting and just making sure that everyone's still, within the tent of the of these inspections and really doing the proper inspections.
Did you want to add any, I mean, y'all are kind of heading this thing up. Come on forward.
Well, we are kind of eyeball people, right? I mentioned, this is Commander Monty Gage that he was referring to. I would like to completely agree with you that they're not the brightest bulbs in the socket, but I will say this: they're getting smarter. The more we work these kinds of crimes, the more creative they get. I think one of our chief concerns is while we do not have fraudulent inspection stickers anymore, what we're going to be and have been seeing is forgeries in registration now. So it's going to be a moving crime. Plus, there are some rules that are complicating things. Anytime you have 3 state bureaucracies that are managing this, because it's between the DPS, TCEQ, and the DMV. All 3 of these have rules that administer this process, and so there are cracks. And one that I'll give you just real quickly is that if you print an inspection report, you can take that almost immediately down to get your vehicle registration, and there's not enough time for it to be uploaded. And the way the DMV does, their instructions are that they accept that paper report on the spot, and it's just printed on 8.5 by 11 white paper. So it's changing. It's a dynamic environment with this change. We're all having difficulties understanding when we're supposed to get our vehicles inspected as well. But they're getting smarter, and thankfully we've got somebody like Commander Gage in the task force that's staying on top of it, because it's actually taking money out of it's taking tax money away, quite frankly, that are needed for services. So.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, the one big thing about that is that had the legislature not acted this last time and put back full funding, we would have been in jeopardy of losing our task force, because we had gotten down to the bottom of the penny jar, and there was not a lot of money left to fund that task force. But you're fully funded now, right?
We are.
That's good.
And from fees that were dedicated to that
absolutely
particular deal.
Absolutely.
And if I could just share one more thing and spread the credit around. The administrator's office, we've all been on the same page. We didn't do some things like the county to the east did. We saw problems in the future with gaps with this funding from the beginning, so we were small but surgically effective, if you will. Whereas their task force was rather large, they ended up collapsing. Unfortunately, they ran out of funds. We stayed small and we stayed effective, and the administrator's office and other folks as well helped us maximize our money. So what we're doing right now is we're just now spending the award that we got for 2014. So these monies that have just been restored, we're not actually going to need them until 16, and we're preparing for that now, but we're trying to be really, really careful with the funding, because as we've seen, it can, we don't know what year after next looks like, so we're trying to be careful.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Chief Ray and his people manage that program very well.
Thank you, Chief. Any other questions? Thank you very much for coming out today.
Thank you very much.
Your Honor, we're going to go ahead and I'd ask Mr. Tenasia to come forward and just brief very quickly on West Nile virus. We have one case now, so I want to make you all aware of that.
Good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor, members of the court. I have a brief update on West Nile. Some of you all may have heard Friday on the news that we had our first positive human case of West Nile reported in Tarrant County. Person's a resident of southwestern Tarrant County in an unincorporated area just outside Benbrook. In this particular case, the person did get diagnosed with the neuroinvasive disease, which is the rarer form. Traditionally what happens is people get bitten by mosquitoes. Some of them do get infected by West Nile, and in about 80% of the cases they don't even know because there's no symptoms. So it just goes away without any symptoms. And in about 19-20% of the cases we get the typical West Nile fever, where a person has a fever, headache, body aches, And, they usually, a lot of folks get treated at home just by themselves by a fever medication. Some go to the doctor, and we get those reports. But in rare cases, in about 1% of the cases, people develop meningitis, encephalitis, inflammation of the brain, and they can have neck stiffness, double vision, other symptoms associated with it. And in this particular case, the person did get diagnosed with that neuroinvasive form of the disease. So we do get a lot of questions about what strategies that public health use in controlling the mosquito growth in West Nile itself. And Tarrant County Public Health is a big proponent of integrated mosquito control strategies. Where the big focus, and we spend a lot of effort on educating the public and anybody else who would listen to control the source of mosquitoes. So source reduction is our biggest strategy. We encourage city partners who are using West Nile, mosquito control strategies to focus on source reduction as well, where we encourage reduction in standing water wherever they find it. And the key thing to remember for John Q. Public is that mosquitoes don't fly very far. They fly only about 250 feet on average. So it's stuff on your own property, old tires that may be sitting around, old planters that have been sitting around since early spring collecting water, old canisters of any kind, metal cans or other things, because even a small amount of water is good breeding ground for mosquitoes. So source reduction is the biggest thing that we propose. A second strategy that we use is larviciding. So if there is standing water that you can't get rid of, we recommend that people get those little dunks. And we, from Public Health, had distributed some to our city partners as well earlier in the season, and get those put in the water. That way the larvae can't grow into adult mosquitoes and start biting. And if there is a West Nile positive mosquito trap that we find, that's when we bring in the mosquito spraying in a very targeted area to do that mosquito spraying to reduce the adult population that we know is infected with West Nile. So those are some of the strategies that we recommend. And for personal protection, we always recommend that people wear DEET whenever they're outside and wear long sleeve clothes, long pants. And I know it's hard when it's really hot to do that, so DEET is always recommended. And also, around your home, be vigilant. If you find areas where mosquitoes could be breeding, make sure you take immediate steps, because within a few days these mosquitoes can grow into adults and can be infected and start spreading the disease. So with that, if there's any questions about what we're doing about West Nile, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Any questions? Thanks, sir.
All right, thank you.
Your Honor, that's all the briefing items we have.
Okay, I believe we have 3 audience participation forms today regarding items that are not on today's agenda. Just kind of as a general comment, I would say that because the item is not on today's agenda, then as a court we cannot respond to those questions. So our not responding, don't take that as we don't want to respond. It's just that by law we can't respond. First is Aaron Harris. If you'd come forward and again state your name and your address so that they can get that in the record.
Aaron Harris, 3609 Charles Street, North Richland Hills. As you mentioned, the item was removed from the agenda for today, but as well as for the bond for November, but I do like to go ahead and make my comments. County Judge, fellow commissioners, fellow Tarrant County residents. I come today to speak about the proposed John Peter Smith $809 million bond, which has been planned for this upcoming November's ballot, which obviously that's changed. There's been a lot of discussion surrounding the bond, and rightfully so. As is the case in most things, process matters. The process of preparing this bond thus far has been questionable. One of the common tactics of government is to call for town halls very early in the process while there's no community awareness about the issue. Then later, when community awareness rises, you simply claim, we held town halls and no one showed up. Once one of the commissioners on this court began asking questions about this bond, this tactic was again tried this time around. Mr. Fickus even went as far as to write a letter to the Tarrant County Republican Party saying essentially, obviously no one cares, no one has showed up to the town halls. Within hours of that response, over 150 people showed up to the next scheduled town hall in Arlington. JPS sent their A game to that town hall with their COO, Bill Whitman, and Vice President Scott Rule. This was their 4th town hall, but the first one which was well attended. After the hour-long presentation, no one in attendance had a clue what the actual needs of JPS are. However, more importantly, neither Mr. Whitman nor Mr. Rule could answer basic questions from the citizens in attendance. I asked a relatively simple question regarding the impact of this bond on the larger Tarrant County healthcare market, which left both men speechless. It was a first for me. It was also very telling to those in attendance. Mr. Rule spent the first 10 minutes of the presentation telling attendees how all the efficiencies had been considered. Yet once the public questioning began, he simply could not answer questions regarding efficiencies. Collin County, which is right here, a neighbor county, not somewhere off the map for us, has made the headlines recently for reforming its public health care system, yet neither men were even aware of that or what Collin County was doing. It was absolutely amazing. I later spoke with Mr. Whitman about the fact that JPS Advantage membership has dropped 42% in the last 2 years. He delusionally stated that he believes these folks will return because of brand loyalty. It was amazing. The fact remains that Affordable Care Act has created an environment where the public county hospital model is no longer needed as it's been done in the years past. Will you approach this project considering that reality? The fact is the bond is detrimental to the private health care providers in Tarrant County. You are asking Tarrant County taxpayers to give JPS a significant competitive advantage over its competitors. And again, let's be honest, due to ACA, they are competitors. As I did that night, I'll extend an offer. My organization will pay for and host a town hall meeting or a roundtable meeting with JPS and the other private health care providers in Tarrant County. Let's have an open discussion about the impact of this bond on all the healthcare community in Tarrant County. That offer was made that night, and it's still on the table. No cost to taxpayers. I will pay for it. While some of this court claim the citizens don't care, within a very short timeline, once citizens heard about this boondoggle, hundreds showed up to the town halls 2 nights in a row in Arlington and Mansfield. And also, as you'll hear in a minute, hundreds have signed a petition within a very short time frame. The response to the town hall and the petition proves to me that the efforts to reach out to this community were simply insincere. Process does matter. Tarrant County should strive for good government. Most of you on this commission receive money from what's called the Good Government Fund. This is our opportunity to show the county that you mean it. Good government requires accountability to and input from taxpayers. This bond simply is not ready to go to the voters, and I urge you not to put it on the ballot. Thank you.
Next is Laura Jenkins. Please come forward and okay, this is, I think, an update with regards to some information that you provided last week.
At the last, I don't know, it was last week, I think it was a couple of weeks ago. But I'm back today actually I went to the Dallas County Commissioners.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but please repeat your name and your address. I'm sorry.
My name is Laura Adams Jenkins, and my address is 8101 Canyon Oak Drive, North Richland Hills, Texas.
Thank you.
And I was here a couple of weeks ago talking about my son and the injustice that has occurred in having him be in jail 10 years. Actually, it'll be 10 years tomorrow. And the update I wanted to provide to you was I actually had gone to the Dallas County Commissioners Court today to talk about my son, but I learned today that I needed to sign up with them the day before. So I'll go back to them next week to share with them the same story I shared here, because I think it's a story that all Tarrant and Dallas County people need to hear. But my update to you today is tomorrow at 12 noon, I plan to engage in an act of civil disobedience in front of the Tim Carey Criminal Justice Center. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for coming out today. Next is Ross, here we go, Kessick.
Hello, my name is Ross Kessig. I live at 533 Ranch Trail in Irving, Texas. I am the director of the Metroplex Bureau for Texans for Fiscal Responsibility. So thanks for giving me an opportunity to come and give public comment here today to the court. I brought with me, the reason why I'm here today is I brought with me letters from constituents in Tarrant County, over 650 letters that are urging this body to not place the JPS bond on the November 2015 ballot. So I'm here to deliver those to the court.
You give those to Mr. Manius, please.
Great. I'll hand it to me here in a minute. Just want to make a couple other comments before we do that. Contained in these letters are basically three major sentiments from folks that are here in Tarrant County, from Fort Worth, Grapevine, Keller. Folks contacted our organization from all over the county. The first has to do with financial projections underlying the bond proposal and issues and questions that people had with the projections themselves. The second thing had to do with the promises made by this body to members of the public that as a result of the bond as proposed, there would not be a tax increase, a property tax increase. That was one of the assumptions made in the financial projections, and a lot of people had questions about how that was going to specifically work, given the fact that there were so many questions with the financial projections on which that was based. And the third aspect that people in here had issue with was the process itself. A lot of folks felt like there wasn't a sincere effort to reach public input. We had the people here that have responded to us, it's about 650 letters, came to us in less than a week's time that were providing feedback on their sentiments on the bond. Back in May 26, when this body made a decision to actually seek public input formally through the town hall process, prior to that, there was actually an effort by some members on this body to go ahead and make the decision and place the bond before voters before seeking public input at all in a formal way. So a lot of people, when they found that out, were very, disappointed or upset that the decision by this body would be made to do that prior to even asking people who are going to be paying for this and for people who are going to be affected by it what they think. And so most of the sentiments revolved around those three things. So thanks for giving me an opportunity to come here and deliver these. We will be notifying everyone who responded that they have been hand-delivered. That's what we offered to do for folks who wanted to provide feedback to this body. So we'll be notifying them today after this meeting that was done. So thank you.
If you would give those, I would also suggest that you get with Mr. Manius because I think you received some misinformation, and I think he could help you clear that up. Thank you.
Did I receive misinformation?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Here we go. Thank you.
Your Honor, that's all we have at this time.
We will recess our open meeting and proceed to closed session to discuss items exempted under Section 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 087. Having returned from our closed session, we'll now address the following matters.
Members of the court, if we could go to the district attorney's section. As it relates to that particular agenda item, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve the payment of $350 to Gary Berman, and who is a mediator in Dallas, and that this payment should authorize the county auditor to issue this payment prior to it coming back to the Commissioners Court for approval.
So moved. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Your Honor.
There being no further business, we stand adjourned.
So, anybody going in front of the courthouse tomorrow to see Ms. Jenkins?